The YouTube channel Girl Defined is a conservative lifestyle resource for God-honoring young women who want to respect the Lord in everything they do, from applying cosmetics to voting for less reproductive freedom. These are the women who know their bodily autonomy is best left in the hands of a man, preferably the cold arthritic hands of the same OBGYN who smeared the paps of their mother and their grandmother and their great-grandmother for generations. The hostesses of Girl Defined are two authors and sisters, Kristen and Bethany, who are on a mission to help teach the pillars of biblical womanhood, which is an answered prayer for anyone out there who wants moral grandstanding that sounds like the caring advice of a friend, or who want makeup tips for looking like a saltine cracker. They even have dating advice, like how to flirt wholesomely.
It's not gonna lick itself.
There's something for everyone. Speaking of makeup, this month, Girl Defined has set drag queens squarely in their crosshairs. Crucifix hairs? Either way, in the great tradition of Paris is Burning, Kristen and Bethany are reading the dolls for filth by calling them predators who are a danger to children. Wait, when did the alligators who roam Disney World start doing drag? Whatever, Girl Defined apparently composed all of the anti-gay and transphobic rhetoric they want. To them, the narrative will always be that they're the victims of these protected minority groups. Yes, they just put hate speech on the internet, but that's nothing compared to how persecuted they'll feel after I make lighthearted jokes about their hair and makeup, overly rehearsed word choices, and hopefully their inability to get seated at Sunday brunch in any major city in America. The gays got the mimosa jug you can eat at the church bake sale. The girls get to define what a man and a woman is, which means I get to define what it feels like to get dragged in another God-honoring installment of Clip Breakdown. Hello television viewers, my name is Nick. Thank you so much for joining me once again on my channel for another installment of Clip Breakdown. This is the playlist where we dive into our favorite movies, TV movies, and other such content here on the web and break it down into little clips until all of the parents on earth can find out who they have to blame for their child's unhappiness. Anywhere outside of their own home is the answer. Denial is strong for people who believe in heaven. I said it. And the Girl Defined girls not only believe in heaven, but also in quilted headboards. They always start their videos with, like, you know, that vloggy thing where they pull like exciting quote to throw at the beginning to be like, this is the fun you got coming down the line. And I'm like, just some white panic.
This is not gonna help all of the major mental breakdowns that are going on in our world and suicide. Like, this is not helping it by affirming that one, men can be women, or two, men should dress up like women and put on fake breasts that are way oversized, massive rears, you know, like wear very skimpy clothing and dance around and twerk and do all this stuff.
Bitch, you could never. Never.
Why is she blaming drag queens for not helping with the mental breakdowns in the world or suicide? Like, you should see a therapist for help with that. I think her whole vendetta against drag queens is just because she showed up to 90s night at Hamburger Mary's hoping to process her feelings with a professional. This is just the first example of how they choose their words in order to sound very godly. This is not helping with the mental breakdowns and not helping with blah blah blah. Obviously, Bethany's more harmful implication is that drag and trans people or gender non-conforming people are actually contributing to mental illness or suicide rates, when in fact, that's not the truth, Ellen. So what a dumb assertion to make when there are plenty of facts to say otherwise. In fact, according to the Trevor Project, LGBTQ youth who reported a strong sense of social support from their family and school reported attempting suicide at less than half the rate of LGBTQ youth who reported low to moderate social support. Another study shows LGBTQ youth living in a community that accepts LGBTQ people reported much lower rates of attempting suicide than those who did not. So it seems like actually taking kids to a drag show at least lets them get an idea of what good show business looks like if they're straight. And if they're growing up to be queer, then it can actually be helping them to see an affirming space when they might otherwise suffer under the cis heteronormative normative oppression that these girls and their dry hair are putting out onto the internet. Also, their video title refers to drag queens, although right away, Bethany quickly extrapolates that to anyone who chooses how they want to express their gender identity as anything other than what was assigned as their sex at birth. So just to make it clear for anyone who's not aware, drag queens and trans people are not interchangeable terms. Drag is a traditionally queer art form, which trans people have been, revolutionizing since its inception. However, not every drag queen is trans, and not every trans person does drag. Obviously, the girl-defined gals are hot on this topic since there has been a lot of discourse on the conservative news channels about kids being exposed to drag and how that's the new heroin addiction. And I think the best counterpoint to that is how if you look at the Trump rallies, you've got far more sexualization that kids are exposed to than at a family-friendly drag show, which is more about balloon animals and picture books. And they can blow bubbles and do tie-dye, God forbid.
This is something we've been wanting to talk about for a while, drag queens. And the fact that it has become so mainstream, it is so popular, it is something that we're told children should be exposed to. It will give them sexual diversity, opportunity.
Babe, I don't know what kind of paranoia powder they're snorting on Fox News these days, but I've never heard anyone talk about using a family-friendly drag show to provide children with sexual diversity and opportunity? Like, what the f***? Those are kids. I think she means like a representation of different sexual identities, but she's making it sound a lot more sinister than it ever would be. I mean, these are parents, queer parents or allies bringing their kids to drag events because it's fun. It's as fun for them as it is for adults. Straight people hate having fun. Straight people aren't fun. The toxic straight people. These straight people. It's like, you don't want kids going to a drag show because it might actually teach them what it's like to enjoy a Saturday afternoon. Not to stay home and watch dad watch TV and mom drink. Also, as kids, we're all exposed to straight representation of drag. Did you grow up wanting to get pegged by Mrs. Doubtfire? No. It's just kids who like exaggerated characters who say silly things. And if it helps them normalize interacting with queer people while we're at it, great. That would be a good skill for them to grow up with because we're here, we're queer, get used to it. Just because Kristen and Bethany, and I assume they're children can't accept that some people have two dads, that doesn't make it bad for society. It just makes them bad at getting things. I don't know why the Girl Defined team wanted to come for drag queens and do things like this. You're giving the drag community a lot of ammunition here by not pulling it together.
In fact, something happened recently in our own backyard, not literally, but in Texas.
I whacked myself in the face.
It's just a little exercise that Father Rick taught me for whenever I have an intrusive thought of Alanis Morissette wearing a leather jacket. Continue, sister. I don't know what that little paper attack was, aside from a great reason to take that sentence from the top again and get another take. I don't know, maybe try to control yourself the same way you're trying to control everyone else on Earth. There's like a specific event where Kristen and Bethany live in Texas that got them interested in this topic. It was a family-friendly drag event, and honestly, it does sound like a nightmare of child abuse. That's sarcasm.
They were saying this is the ultimate family-friendly drag show. Come, bring your family, bring your little kids. We're gonna have drag performers in a nightclub, by the way.
Wait a minute, that children's event was being held at a venue that wasn't built exclusively for children's events? This is the greatest abomination to happen since the Wiggles played Madison Square Garden. I wonder, do these girls define the same outraged energy for just any children's performance that doesn't happen in a theme park? Or are they just mad that it was in a gay nightclub? It's fine, Mary, so they saw some rainbow banners. I highly doubt the children were locked in go-go cages and forced to try poppers. I also love that they are bringing up stuff that doesn't mean that the children were exposed to anything inappropriate. They're referring to pictures they saw before the event.
And they even said, in fact, we're gonna have 5 spots open for kids to join the stage to dance with the drag performers. And in fact, when I saw some articles and some videos about this event, there was a huge neon sign in the background that literally said, "It's not gonna lick itself." You can probably guess what that means in a nightclub like this.
Yeah, it sounds like they have a job opening. And I should probably get the name and address of that place from you in case I ever find myself in shit Texas. Tell me, does that nightclub list their family events on Facebook or something? Those are the dates I'm trying to avoid. Because while I believe that family drag shows are not harmful to children, I also believe that being around children is harmful to me. I literally get the shivers when they smile with those creepy tiny baby teeth, like, ooh, why do you have temporary bones in your face? Ooh. I'm obsessed that she thought this was a strong enough detail that she was gonna go ahead and quote it on the internet. You just gave us a really good clip. She said, and the worst part was how on the wall behind the children, do you know what it said? I can lick it, I can ride it while you slip it and slide it. I can do all them little tricks and keep the dick up inside it. Like, okay, you could have just said there were inappropriate signs, but I mean, whatever. I'm not your PR manager. Also, they give a quick shout out to their Patreon, which I should do now. I have a Patreon and merch. Bonus episodes, all that. The girls give away, like, I'm not saying girls in like a condescending way, it's what they named their channel. The grown women show us some of their printable guides that their patrons get.
Get back to God's design because he is a good creator, and one of the ways we do that is over on Patreon. Our way of saying thank you is by giving you free resources like 5 strategies to find freedom from sexual sin. Other guides that we offer: battling sexual temptation, 50 questions to deepen your friendships, 5 strategies for thriving as a single girl, a Christian girl's breakup survival guide.
And then of course we have our best sellers collection like, oops, I got my crucifix stuck up there, and other good girl dilemmas. 666 reasons why the devil wants you to get your tubes tied, and had an abortion? Fun crossword puzzles to pass your eternity in hell. This is the perfect back to school gift for any of you who have children attending a non-Christian university in the fall. Use coupon code STATESCHOOLHARLOT to save 1 penny. Now, I'm not gonna say that watching this was a waste of time, because frankly, I've got the time to spare, even on my busiest weeknights now. Thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Every Plate, the best value meal kit in America, and also my savior for over a year now. Fall is a busy time for most of us. Every Plate is my #1 hack for saving time and money on busy weeknights, because I am prone to just ordering off of those delivery apps, which is so expensive, which is what I used to think all meal kits were until I found Every Plate. The ingredients are just as fresh, and yet Every Plate is 25% cheaper than grocery shopping, and more importantly, 58% cheaper than the average fast casual meal. Cha-ching. I always feel good being able to throw together a meal for myself in 6 easy steps. Look at this kale salad. It was better than any restaurant salad I've eaten this year, and it costs less than $2 to make, as opposed to $1,000? I don't know. I no longer want to be at the mercy of rising grocery store prices. I say treat yourself to Every Plate like I do. Win back some time in your day, while also making sure you're eating right. Get your first box for just $1.49 per meal by going to everyplate.com and entering code DiRamio149. Anyway, let's waste some more time. I think it's absolutely heinous that people in this country are allowed to assert publicly that this whole transgender bathroom issue, for one, is like a trans agenda to put kids in danger, which is absolutely ludicrous. Even but just by looking at the data, we would know that they're making nonsense up to scare themselves. That's why I feel really on edge that Bethany here is using such triggering words, like talking about drag queens and queer people and trans people like they're actually child killers. The kids are fully supervised by their parents at these events. What are you worried about?
You have like the library readings, drag queen story hour, and just this massive over-sexualization of these adults, which is so creepy to me. Adult, typically men, already dressed up like women, now preying on these young children.
By reading them a soothing story? Mama, your favorite former president literally assaulted young women and little girls, and you still voted for him, but you're worried that somebody in hip pads is reading somebody else's kid if you give a mouse a cookie? If you put even 10% of this energy towards using a purple conditioner once a week, your hair would look a lot less brassy. And I think that's also going to lead to our kids being safer when they decide to go into home hair coloring for themselves. You'll be the cautionary tale. Also, how is a person putting on fake breasts and a wig to read children's book sexualizing women at all. She said these breasts that are so overly large, it's like you haven't seen people with really large breasts, and it's like you don't necessarily sexualize everyone with a full chest. Breasts aren't sex organs, no matter how large they are. And why aren't you also attacking the very popular animated kids movies that tend to show women with extremely exaggerated proportions? For what? It looked like Andy's mom had a BBL back in 1995 before it was cool. But of course, what it all comes down to is fear of sex, or being threatened by the fact that some people don't treat virginity as though it's this sacred gift that they have to give away to only the person they marry. That sounds like such a mistake. Like, don't try to rope me in with that. You f***ed yourself by only f***ing one dude for your whole life. Not me. Could never be me.
Putting sex and intimacy within the context of marriage, not for just general consumption.
General consumption. Is that the military daddy I met at Pride who loves drinking piss? You're right. Sex is not just for him. Although I think because of his rank, it's customary to let him come first. You see, Bethany is upset because for the last months or years or however long she's been noticing it, we've just been out here playing with words and redefining things as though English is an evolutionary language and society likes to progress towards equality. And it's basically murder of ideas.
And we think, wow, well, true happiness is rejecting everything that our creator, our designer, whether we acknowledge him or not, has set forth, and we're going to bend all of these gender norms. We're going to completely reject male and female, and we're going to mash it up, mix it up, chop it up, literally inject it.
Put it in a blender, shit on it, vomit on it, eat it, give birth to it.
Okay, I started getting really inspired once Bethany started listing all of the ways we're going to brutally destroy the construct of gender. I like how she's basically telling me that my mere existence is disrespectful to God. Like I'm rejecting the gender binary simply to piss him off, as though he were a real f***ing person that I even believe in. Well, guess what, Barthany? I don't respect your God because I read his book and he sounds like a tool. Also, one time I saw him when he was just a stranger on a bus and he was playing music without headphones, so f*** that guy. As Bethany said before, they feel that people or society rejecting the God-given gender norms is causing a lot of angst. But I'm like, not for me. I'm chilling here. He, they.
No wonder we are having so many mental problems and like anxiety problems.
Who, the two of you? Yeah, it is no wonder. I would be anxious too if I felt like it was my personal duty to stop all queer people from existing and somehow criminalize boys who wear girl clothes. It must be stressful to not be able to mind your own business and to come for a group of people who are not above admonishing you for your hair care routine. That's what you get for not being an ally, Miss Halloween Hayride Hair. At this point, the girls are outright telling us we shouldn't get what we want unless it's something that they somehow know God approves of, even though never met him.
But in society, we're told, you know, men can be women, women can be men, anyone can be anything, really. And it does get so confusing. And if your framework is that you have to look within and you have to find and discover who you are, and now you have like 1,000 options for who you can be, that is so hard. That is so scary. And even if you think you find who you are, over time it could change.
Did she just describe having the freedom of choice confusing and say that it's scary that she might change over time? Girl, you're not mad at the trans agenda. You're mad at the US Constitution and the song Big Girls Don't Cry by Fergie. You know what? I'm sorry that as little girls defined, your parents didn't encourage you to believe that you could be or do anything in life. But in their defense, they were afraid you might try on a pair of slacks one day. And that's not cool because Jesus predetermined what clothing was appropriate for each gender when he carved those public restroom signs on the door of his tomb. They're so focused on speaking around the fact that they think everyone should be forced to accept their sex that was assigned at birth that they don't realize they're making it sound like they don't like the idea of free will in general, no matter what the area of life. She said you could have like 1,000 options of what to do. It's so overwhelming. Well, in that case, it's not surprising that you would choose to remain part of this religious community that tries to brainwash its members and control them using shame. Also that you take your guilt over masturbating one time at church camp and project it outwards as a judgment on anyone who isn't afraid to be themselves. Also, nothing these girls say really sounds like an original thought. The weird Christian PR phrasing is so hollow and creepy that they don't even hear themselves when they're saying, kids will get so confused if they believe that they can accomplish things that you didn't tell them. And then sometimes Kristen will go into a full-on trance and begin reciting faith-based poetry for some reason.
It informs me of who I am. You know, Psalm 139 talks about all of us. When we're in the womb, the Bible says that God sees us. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well because God is forming us and crafting us.
First of all, take a breath. The dentist said your veneers are eroding at a faster rate than they do in the mouth of a non-radicalized person who knows when to shut the f*** up. Just get to the point, girlfriend.
None of us are a mistake, but when we look at our physical bodies, it's not detached from our gender identity.
When you say we and our, you better just be speaking for yourself and your split ends. And maybe your copycat sister. The only thing you need to know about my physical biology or personal identity is that right now I am boiling hot with rage, and I now identify as your arch nemesis. Sorry, that's just one of the 1,000 gender options that I get to choose from every morning just to piss you off. Just to make you cry, Sister Abigail. I get that you two have to 24/7 behave like you're wearing a bonnet, like one of your long dead ancestors, but I'm probably not gonna let you send me to conversion camp over that. I hope that's cool. Then again, it is your religion that's in charge of the government, so whatever your great uncle votes into power, it's a good thing that I already have a Handmaid's Tale costume from some Halloween party. Ah, damn it, that counts as drag, which we now know is the source of all mental breakdowns and anxiety in the universe. Pandora's box, the privilege that it takes to say our physical biology is not disconnected from our gender identity. Not for you, that's why you're not trans. Oh my God, you can't tell other people that. That's the whole point of gender dysphoria, body dysmorphia. Literally, your identity doesn't match with the physical body you're in. You saying that that's not the case doesn't make it true. It just goes to show, like, all of these people with these crazy conservative views are simply unable to imagine feeling the way that somebody else feels because it hasn't been their experience. Or they do feel that way and want to repress it so much that they have to overcompensate. You don't get to tell people how they identify as something. That's literally a personal choice. That's what makes you stupid. Like, obviously, you're very proud of your cis womanhood. You don't get to tell me how to feel about it.
God made me to be a woman. What does it mean to be a woman? How do I live out my life as a woman?
Those were the exact thoughts that ran through my head when I found out I could walk in lucite heels for the first time.
God made me to be a woman. Woman. What does it mean to be a woman? How do I live out my life as a woman? Woman. It's not gonna lick itself.
I've made some weird little iMovie mashups on this channel before, but this one has the most potential in terms of a catchy hook. How do I live my life as a woman? A woman. By the way, I know that question was directed at God, although personally, I don't think there is one right way to live your life as a woman. If I were going to offer people of any gender identity one piece of universal advice, it's make sure you wash whatever it is you consider to be your even if it's a penis or an actual pet cat. Whatever your most prized possession is, keep her fresh. You know what? This case of Girl Defined versus the drag queens is a little outside my typical purview on YouTube. So I've pulled in a professional to help investigate every side of this story.
Hello, I am the Drag Detective. If you don't know who I am, I solve all drag-related mysteries over on my YouTube channel. And Nick has hired me today to investigate this attack on the art of drag. And upon starting my investigation, I actually discovered some top secret information by clicking on the read more in the description. So let's go over this evidence together. Drag queens are a mockery of God's design for womanhood. How do we navigate this radical new world and stay true to God's design? Well, there you have it. The truth has been uncovered. Thank you, Nick, for having me on your channel. I love your channel so much. You're an icon. Okay, bye.
All right. I gotta be honest, I thought I was hiring a real private investigator. That cost me $10,000. Anyway, go subscribe. All right, Girl Defined, so you've convinced me. Drag queens are the devil. What's the solution?
Let's look at God's word. He cares for you. He made you. He knew you when you were like a tiny little baby, and he has a good plan for your life.
Aw, thanks, Girl Defined. You just cured gender dysphoria by asking those people to just stick with it and be sad until they eventually die. I'm sure knowing that it was God's plan will be all of the comfort and strength that they need. And it was so thoughtful of you, a person who has no idea what that's like and never will, to tell them what's up. Like, really? Because God knew me since I was a little baby? So did my babysitter Emily. So did my parents. So why would I trust a God who I've never met and I only felt in the way that, like, you see a flower open in time lapse or whatever?
That's God's word. She said hi.
Why would I listen to you tell me that's what his plan is for me and I should just learn to accept my assigned gender or sex? Like, that is so not a solution. But to them it is, because clearly being a drag queen, aka queer, is something people can be cured of, even though that's illegal in most states too. Actually, I think it's in less states now. Because America hates the queer. The way that I had to go out of my way to just not get monkeypox this year, Ronald Reagan is having a happy birthday party in his tomb.
Our podcast, we share a whole testimony of a man who was a drag queen. He shares his conversion to Christ and just the amazing transformation of God, changing him from the inside out. It's incredible. And along with a lot of other really practical, just talking points, how to talk through this, how to think about this biblically. This is like a nutshell version.
But don't worry, because we also go into more detail in our latest printable companion guide, Sashay the Gay Away. How to encourage your artistic friend to save his theatrical mannerisms for the annual church play. I want to know more about this inspiring former drag queen who converted to Christ. Or as we say in the gay community, agreed to marry some woman from college so his dad wouldn't cut him out of the will. And that's all there is. I'm convinced that people who love talking religion and trying to convert everybody to believe what they believe are secretly just trying to impress their parents, who instilled this religion and set of beliefs in them, only to be withholding with all sorts of love because they're too focused on getting to those pearly gates. And guess what? Their parents instilled the fear of God in them, and theirs in them. So everyone's just picturing an angry version of their dad up in the sky as God, waiting to punish them because they didn't clean their plate. F you, Girl Defined. You don't know shit. I can't believe YouTube would even allow this to be online, because to me, it's cut and dry hate speech. To say that people who are not predators are preying on children or accuse a certain group of people of reducing society's health by creating mental illness, that's Hitler. You're Hitler. And I'm not afraid to call you Hitler with a headband. Hitler with a stupid headband from some homeschooled girl down the street who sews in her spare time. Now I'm making fun of random kids. Well, they were at the drag show, they're gonna get red. And that's all I have to say. So let me know what you feel about Girl Defined, and in case there are any people who aren't sure of their position, feel free to sound off in the comments about how it's harmful to make the comparison that drag is somehow creating sexual deviance when cis-het society is even grosser. Like, there are cheerleaders at every high school football game and baseball game and basketball game. Like, don't make little girls jump around in a line just so that the dads can watch. That's weird too. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Also give this video a big thumbs up if you want to see even more clip breakdowns on Girl Defined or other cringy channels. But most importantly, if you're new to my channel, I would love to have you click that subscribe button right down here. That way you never miss new videos from me. I upload 2 a week. I know the schedule has been crazy this month, but that's the way it is. I'm here, baby. I'm still here. So make sure you hit that notification bell and you'll always know the minute I upload at all sorts of inconsistent times times. Also, I've got merch available and a Patreon where you can get bonus episodes and virtual watch parties, which is so much fun. You guys are all the greatest. Thank you for letting me know that it's not gonna suck itself. She said lick itself. It's not gonna lick itself for me. You guys are all the greatest. I will see you next time. Mwah.